Welcome back. Thank you once more for volunteering to be one of our amazing tutors in the Adult Volunteer Literacy Program. This is the second video in the tutor training series. Last time, we discussed how literacy is defined. Do you remember? That's right. It is related to understanding reading, writing, math, and the English language to communicate, gain, and use knowledge. This can also include using computers and comprehension of images. But just what does all that mean to our learners again? It helps them function in society, set goals, be productive, and achieve their true potential. But what does all this really mean? What does literacy mean when you describe it to your mom, your best friend, a new learner that is nervous about tutoring? What do all these definitions translate to practically? Literacy is simply being able to understand, comprehend, and communicate with the world and society around us. Literacy is being able to read your mail, read to your grandchildren. Literacy is being able to help your children with homework. Literacy is being able to write a check, interview for a job, get your GED, obtain your citizenship, and so many other tasks similar to these we take for granted. Today isn't more about literacy, though. It's about who we are helping, our learners. And understanding literacy means we can understand our learners a whole lot better. Let's start a discussion about who our learners are by seeing who you think our learners are. Take a moment and pause the video here in a second to write down who you think an adult learner is. How old are they? Do they have a job? What is their job? What is their background? Pause the video, think of these, and write down how you would define an adult learner. When you're finished, go ahead and hit play. So, what did you write? Keep a hold of that as we go through the traits of adult learners and see how right or wrong you were and how your perception has changed. Let me start with a story. When I started this job, I was asked the same question. How would you define an adult learner? My first thought was my mother. She's a single mom that worked all the time to support me growing up while also battling severe illness. She had always wanted to get her degree, but couldn't because of money, time, and raising a child. So when I left home to go to college, she decided to finally get her associate's degree. She still worked all day and still was dealing with her chronic illness, but she's smart, dedicated, and made time where she could to work on homework. And when she was 56, she graduated with her associates. Our learners are sometimes in the same situations. Adults returning to school to obtain their GED, or even adults trying to improve their reading and writing to take GED courses. Our learners are smart, but some just never learned the skills to properly read and write, so instead they found ways around it. One student was a manager at a Kroger. He found his way around his reading skills to make it to the top. Another student has said, "I don't have trouble thinking, my trouble is reading." Another learner also wants to take GED classes and obtain their GED, but is uncomfortable with their ability to understand English and is hesitant to enroll because of fear and anxiety. This anxiety is common in our learners. Many are very anxious in telling someone they need help. Many have had failures in the past and are apprehensive to try again. Sometimes a tutor is their last hope to achieve their goals. Stories aside, who are our learners? Our learners are adults ages 17 and up with diverse backgrounds and abilities. We serve adults within the John A. Logan District, from Carbondale and Carterville to Murfreesboro and to Marion, West Frankfort, Heron, and DuQuoin. Our learners are native English speakers and English as a second language, or ESL speakers. Importantly, they have to have below a 9th grade reading level or a student performance level in ESL of 6 or below. Some characteristics of our learners include they're creative and adaptable. They're apprehensive or anxious. They learn unevenly. We'll discuss this later. They generally have outside responsibilities beyond tutoring sessions, such as kids and jobs. They view themselves as responsible, self-directed, and independent adults. They prefer to make their own decisions. They resent being treated like children because they aren't. They tend to be threatened by formal tasks. They want practical lessons that satisfy their personal goals. They have varied life experiences. They need to be shown respect. Of course, treat people how you want to be treated. They are goal-oriented and relevancy-oriented. Now, take a second and look what you wrote. Did it match anything so far? Well, we haven't quite gotten to the core of the adult learner, or learner in general. And that truth is that there is no stereotypical adult learner. They're all different and learn differently. We have all had those days where we can do nothing wrong, and the next is just completely awful and we can do nothing great. This is much like your adult learner's learning pattern. One day it'll be smooth learning, and the next session may seem unsuccessful. You may have to review prior material or find a new technique. Their minds could also be other places, such as their outside responsibilities. Bills, children, work, or domestic difficulties could make it hard for them to concentrate. They may want to talk about some of these difficulties with you, but keep in mind, you are not required to be a therapist, social worker, or find them food or housing. Please refer any of these issues to your literacy coordinator so they can get referrals to the correct departments. Another part is how our learners view themselves: responsible, self-directed, and independent. Some of our learners will be early, on time, and ready to learn. Others may not call or show up on time or at all. Please let your literacy counselor know if this happens so they can contact them and see if there is something we can do or place you with a learner that is ready. We don't want you wasting your time. Also, they prefer to make their own decisions. This is good to keep in mind, and why later we will learn how to make your sessions learner-oriented and tailored to their personal goals and interests. Adults have many different life experiences to build on with their learning. They've developed interests, habits, attitudes, and opinions. They want to learn about information that is going to help them right now. We don't use children's books because this will offend our learners. They're often threatened by formal tests. That's why we call our tests assessments. We encourage that the only reason we are assessing them is to find out what information will help them most. This anxiety can be severe and should be taken seriously. One learner we even had to rename assessment to review to help calm her test anxiety. This is valid and we should treat it as such. We want practical lessons, and they want relevant materials and skills to their goals. An example of this would be if the goal is to go grocery shopping by themselves, we wouldn't have them do a lesson on writing a resume, but instead how to read labels and handle money. Learner-centered learning. Everything we do is to help the learner learn what they are needing to learn that they can use now and achieve their goals. This next point should be common sense, but it's one of the most important things you can remember. Our learners need to be shown respect, but so do our tutors. Learning can't take place if you or the student feels disrespected. Building a relationship out of respect will help the walls of embarrassment and anxiety fall away and real learning to take place. So, any questions? Concerns? That was a lot, and we have a little bit more to go before we're done with this lesson. Our learners are the other half of our program, and we wouldn't be able to function without them, or you. So take a break, stretch, and click play when you're ready to hear about the two types of adult learners we have in the program. We have two different classifications of learners in the literacy program. community learner, or classroom learner? Go ahead and check out the slide for more information, but in general, a community learner is defined as a learner or small group of learners not enrolled in the ABE GED classroom. The community learner will set their own goals. An assessment is done by the literacy counselor. The tutor will provide instruction and is responsible for materials used in sessions. Place and time for tutoring is determined by the tutor and the learner. Generally, community learner tutors only have one, maybe two learners. All files on community learners will be maintained by the literacy counselor. A classroom learner is a learner enrolled in the ABE GED class with the goal of obtaining their GED. Goals are set by the learner and the instructor of their ABE GED class. The instructor will have work outlined for the learner the tutor can use, including learning styles. Tutoring can take place one-on-one or in small groups. Classroom tutors can interact with any number of learners, so they need to manage their time. Instructors maintain the files on our classroom learners. There are different positives and challenges in tutoring either in the classroom or out in the community, such as availability, who makes instruction materials, and how many learners you have. Whoever you end up tutoring, the experience will be rewarding and our learners will appreciate every second you help them. And if there are ever any questions or concerns, please remember you can talk to your literacy counselor or other tutors. You are not alone in your tutoring journey. Next time, let's start talking about you, the tutor, with an introduction to tutoring. Thanks again, and see you next time.